Thanks very much, Chair and delegates. If you wanted evidence that we're not a brand, we're a cause, it's what we've been able to do together since the last conference and in particular over the last 12 months as a party, as a movement, to change the lives for working Australians. And I want to pay particular tribute to the leadership through the trade union movement of both Sally McManus and Michelle O'Neill. At the first meeting of the new Albanese government's cabinet, we made the commitment that we'd made in the election campaign to put the submission into the Fair Work Commission that resulted in the 5.2% increase in the minimum wage. Before Parliament sat for the first time, we had already abolished the building code. And then the first piece of industrial relations legislation that was introduced to the Parliament was something that had happened as a result of years of work of delegates to this conference. For years, workplace delegates, academics, organisers, union secretaries, members of caucus, resolutions at this conference had said we needed to have 10 days paid family and domestic violence leave. It is now law in Australia. But we also needed to be able to deliver job security and to be able to deliver better pay. And it had been made clear through the union movement and through this conference that the way to do that was to get the bargaining system working again and to fix a broken system. To be able to do that, we needed to abolish the organisations that were set up to work against the rights of working people. There used to be a thing called the Registered Organisations Commission. It has been abolished. There used to be a thing called the ABCC. It has been abolished. Only a year ago, there were zombie agreements still in place where people had terms and conditions that dated back to the work choices era of the Howard government. All of those agreements have now had a process to be sunsetted. You used to be able to have unilateral agreement terminations by the employer without it happening by consent. We've ended that process. We've now got the system that so many organisations here have already taken up, where employers had basically locked in a wage freeze by refusing to negotiate and now created a situation where those negotiations can start again. We now have a workable system of multi-employer bargaining in Australia. We have the Gender Pay Equity Panel, we have the Care and Community Panel. We have sexual harassment as an express prohibition in the Fair Work Act. We have gender equality and job security as objectives of how the workplace relations system operates. The right to flexible work, now enshrined in law. Pay secrecy provisions used to undermine the pay of women in so many workplaces, now banned under Australian law. It was legal to advertise a job for less than the legal rate. That's no longer the case. And then on safety as well, psychosocial harm, now regulated. Health and safety reps, now able to choose their training provider. Companies can no longer take out insurance to cover themselves for fines under work health and safety law. And we are taking, you'll hear more of this in coming weeks, taking serious action in fighting the causes of silicosis in Australian workplaces. Internationally, we've ratified the Violence and Harassment at Work Convention. We've ratified the Minimum Age Convention.
30 seconds, delegate.
We've taken action to protect temporary migrant workers, superannuation's now in the National Employment Standards, and we've got improvements to unpaid parental leave. But we're not done yet. When Parliament returns in the coming weeks, I'll be introducing legislation to close loopholes. It should not be the case that wage theft remains somehow avoiding the criminal law. If it's illegal to steal from the till, as it should be, then it's got to be illegal to steal from the worker as well. You shouldn't be able to undercut an enterprise agreement rate through a rort using labour hire in an inappropriate way. You shouldn't be able to have people rostered as permanent casuals when they are desperately crying out for a secure job. We shouldn't have in road transport and in the gig economy a situation where people's rights fall off a cliff with no minimum standards at all. All of those loopholes will be addressed in legislation in the coming weeks. All of this made possible because of the way we work together, as a movement, as a cause. But what does that mean for workers around Australia? It means now with every negotiation, people's wages are getting closer and closer to once again getting in front of what's happening in prices in Australia. It means that people experiencing family and domestic violence no longer have to choose between safety and pay. It means institutions of government that used to be out there patrolling whether or not someone had a union sticker on a helmet can now be out there patrolling whether there's safety at the workplace and whether people are being paid properly. And in a world where your rent isn't casual, where your bills are not casual, where the expenses that make life survive each week and to make ends meet are not casual, we have to have a system where people can find secure work in Australia again. That's what this cause is about. Secure jobs, better pay, safer workplaces. We're not done yet.